Hey guys, Cubit here. Since I'm talking about allied races, I wanted to give you guys a potential spoiler warning. And I'm gonna need you to put on your tinfoil hats for this one, because I'm coming out of left field. But since BlizzCon is this weekend, I wanted to give some speculation to the Alliance getting playable characters that use the original Blood Elf model. And I know what you're thinking, because all signs have pointed to us not getting introduced High Elves as a playable race. The race I'm talking about is called Common Elves, or Half Elves. This race already has an established leader in lore, Arator the Redeemer, the son of Turalyon and Illyria Windrunner. On the opposite side of the spectrum of racial features would be the twin sons of Varisa and Ronan. They're pretty ugly, but they're not the only example. Kalecgos is a former aspect of the Blue Dragon Flight that uses a half-human, half-elf mortal form, saying he has powers of a sorcerer and the strength of a warrior. Between these three characters is a spectrum of physical traits that the players can choose from. Up until now, we have always thought as the Blood Elves as being High Elves. Instead, we should look at the emphasis of the separation of the three Windrunner sisters as the creation of three new elf factions. We know the Void Elves, and we know the Blood Elves, so when did the Common Elves start? To figure this out, we need to go back to the first interactions between elves and humans. Without realizing, when the High Elves settled in Quel'Thalas, they settled right over a troll graveyard. The High Elves had suffered unsustainable losses to the Amani trolls. In order to stay alive, they turned to the humans of Lordarion, and only together were they able to defeat the trolls. In exchange for their help, the High Elves agreed to teach the humans in their knowledge of the ways of magic. After the Troll Wars had ended, they agreed to send those High Elves in order to teach 100 humans in the way of arcane magic. After the Troll Wars, Alliance cities such as Stromgarde were overwhelmed by the use of magic users. Some cities even banned the use of magic. Dalaran was created in order to be a safe haven for those studying magic, and it would flourish to be one of the 7 main Alliance capital cities of the Eastern Kingdoms. The reason I feel the need to explain this cutscene is it's from 2002, over 16 years ago. If we theorize that 50% of WoW's player base is under the age of 25, that means a considerable amount of the people that play the game now don't have the same understanding about the game that previous players did. So you got all these youngins running around like, who's this sea cucumber breaking everything? But up until this point, we thought everyone in this place just died because of the sea cucumber. But thanks to the power of the internet, we figured out from World of Warcraft Chronicles Volume 3 that everyone in Dalaran just suddenly evacuated. This does kind of explain why there's so many High Elves hanging around in the Silver Coven around Dalaran. Every time a new race is added, the first question people ask is, where would the new starting area be? Personally, I felt like the introduction of allied races starting at level 20 was a bit of a missed opportunity. Many players appreciate not having to grind out those levels, but it could have been a great way for Blizzard to introduce lore and role-playing cinematics. You create your character, and the camera pans over the destruction of Dalaran. Some time has passed, and the Kirin Tor leads a band of survivors back to the ruins. The city's completely destroyed. You watch in amazement as the Dalaran bubbles raised above you. You and other children are living as orphans. Even as a small child at level 5, you're given small tasks to help reconstruct the city of Dalaran. Time passes, but eventually much of the city is rebuilt. However, the city is still restless. Eventually, the entire city is lifted from the ground and teleported to Northrend. This increases the travelers to the city, and it eventually becomes overcrowded. Thus, you're sent over to the Northern Argent Crusade foothold in Icecrown. I guess that's why they were trying to pawn off all those squires to us. In-game, you select your class similar to old class trainers in starting areas. During your first class training lessons, you go up against a few pure Blood Elves who don't hold back against you or any of the new recruits. As you leave sore and bruised from the first day, you're jumped just outside the barracks by those same elves. You and Varisa's twin sons put up a fight, but you're no match for the much older kids. Just when all hope looks lost, you're saved by a mysterious knight who turns out to be Arator. Arator greets his cousins warmly and introduces himself to you. As a young common elf, you're present for the Argent Crusade tournament. You get to choose one of your 120 characters to be at the main stage of the Argent tournament. You even get the squire for your main character as you do various quests to level yourself up. And you even buy a poster of them to hang up at your bunk bed of your barracks. You watch as the great heroes of each faction team up in order to take down mighty foes. Although you'd be more of a spectator than a participant, this would be a good way of explaining the change of leadership and power over the recent years of expansions throughout WoW. Eventually, when the tournament ends, you're no longer a squire and you go back to your class training. One of the people you meet in your class is Final Goldensword. She's the daughter of Kilnar Goldensword, and none other than Dalen Proudmoore. Dalen Proudmoore had this bastard child unbeknownst to his family. And imagine if the way that Catelyn treats Jaina, her actual daughter, can you imagine the way she would treat her bastard daughter that she's yet to find out about? Everyone knows we love looking at this lady scowl at people. This would also mean that as a member of the Kirin Tor, Jaina Proudmoore has been helping to raise her half-sister without even realizing it. But seriously, don't even worry about this character. It's not like she's going to be the queen of our people. It's not like she's going to be important or marry Arator. Seriously, just put her out of your mind and don't even think about her. At this point, a few years have passed since the tournament, and much of the landscape has changed to accommodate the income of students each year. They start building new buildings. They have off-campus missions that is required by team to go travel together to defeat enemies. You also help mentor new students, and you help to establish new footholds in Northrend. At the end of your training, you go through a trial of skills to see if you're ready to graduate. Once again, those racist blood elves are waiting to antagonize you after the match. This time, since Arator's already graduated, this fight has to be broken up by the teachers. The older blood elves had already graduated, so they vowed to be waiting for them on the next part of their training. The final part of your training is to go experience the destinations that you've learned about in your history class. You are led by no other than Jaina Proudmoore herself, who kinda has some time to kill. You first go to the Dead Scar, and you're shown through a trick of time manipulation the difference between the old and the new. Jaina also then takes you to the city of Lordarion, and then shows the difference between that and the ruins of Lordarion. The ruin of these two cities gives Jaina a chance to explain that when elves and humans worked together, they were unstoppable, but it's when they were separated and only cared about themselves that they weren't able to stop the ones that meant to harm them. Jaina would be able to explain to us with the use of Arcane how this city of Dalaran was a melting pot of these two races. Jaina then teleports you to the Dalaran crater, which I'd then like to think that you fall just like in game, but even if we're on a guided path, it would be really cool to see what these old cities looked like. After all the lectures from Jaina, you're practically begging for her to leave you and your group alone, so you're totally fine with doing the variation of the Wetlands run, riding from the Dalaran crater all the way to Ironforge. You get to meet the cool version of Magni, and then you take the Tran over to Stormwind, where you're greeted by Varian and a young Prince Anduin. You, Final, and the twins are surprised to find Arator next to the king waiting for you in Stormwind. Arator explains to you and your group that he's been waiting for you because there's been a huge increase of criminal activity in Duskwood lately. He decides to take the journey with you. It's there that you have a Pokemon rival match with the Sun Reavers that have been just a pain in the ass since the start. This time there are no teachers to stop the battle, but you also have Arator on your side, making this a clear-sided victory for you, and the Blood Elves are forced to run away with their tails between their legs. Even with everyone in high spirits after the victory, Arator looks unusually nervous, and as they get closer to the Dark Portal, Arator starts to become more and more concerning. As the final part of the journey, you travel to the Dark Portal. You get close enough to feel the energy peeling off the crust between the two worlds. In a dare to have you follow, Arator jumps through the portal. You're given a choice on whether or not you follow him into the Dark Portal. If you do follow him, you follow him to the Honor Hold, where he starts speaking to other people about if there's been any new news about his parents. It's in this point that you see how difficult it is for Arator to accept the fate of his parents. Unable to come to terms with it, you're forced to leave Arator in Honor Hold. You're confronted by the Blood Elves a final time, just as you're about to exit through the Outland Black Portal. The Sun Reavers siphon the fell energy around them in Outland, causing their eyes and veins to glow bright green. Channeling together, the Blood Elves pull down a Hellfire Infernal that kills one on impact, and grabs two others in hand, one in each. Again, you're presented with a choice, to save them or let them die. After going through the portal, you travel to Stormwind and take another portal to Dalaran. You finally begin your leveling experience at level 20 when you return to Dalaran. The cherry on top is instead of being restricted to the Stormwind starting area, you're able to take a portal to any of the Alliance starting areas. I think this new race would be a great direction for World of Warcraft to incorporate because it personifies a new generation that has joined the battle in Azeroth, and it could help new and returning players re-experience the depth of WoW's lore in a new perspective. Thank you guys for watching my video. This was my first video, but I want to have more videos like this coming out about the next generation of Azeroth. If you couldn't tell, I currently am lacking the equipment, so if you could donate on Patreon, it'd be greatly appreciated. If you like this video, please smash that like button, and please feel free to leave me a comment about what you want to see next on the stream. Till next time, guys.